and you all love. I've had this one queued up for quite a few weeks in an entire group of animals you probably haven't heard of. Yes, it is time for God's mistakes. Now take a look at this serial killer dressed as a nun. What are God's mistakes? He or she doesn't know. All he knows is how to take people back to his home and kill them. Now, God's mistakes are the most effed forms of life, and especially the ones that God created, threw in the bottom of the ocean and said, no one's going to see this shit. I fucked up, I done goofed. Well, there's an entire group of God's mistakes, and they're called, no relation, sea spiders. Let's take a look at what a sea spider looks like. Let's do the second. Can we do the second video first? This is one from Antarctica. No, we'll do the first one first because it's the pretty one. Then we're going to do the hideous nightmare one. So this is what they look like when they're swimming. So you could see they look kind of like sea lilies when they swim. This is deep sea stuff. It's very kind of like, it almost doesn't look organic, right? It looks like some kind of, it looks like music. Because it's just like kind of like how or a sine wave. It's kind of how the notes go one after the other, or one of those things where you turn the knob and the sculpture moves.
Kind of like how like an engine, like
yeah,
the
yeah, like a piston,
revolving.
right?
Yeah.
It's just I've never seen footage of them swimming. They very rarely swim. Notice they don't really have heads. A sea spider is basically just a mass of, those aren't even really legs. We're going to get to that in a second. But this is what they look like. They're obviously not very good swimmers either, but this is what they look like. You can't even tell where the front from the back is. It's just like what do you call that when you have a mathematical drawing and it gets smaller and bigger and it just replicates over as you zoom in?
Fractal.
Yeah, it looks like a fractal. How the fuck did you know that?
It's a hippie thing.
Oh Jesus Christ! Man, it's a curveball. Good work, Drew. Yeah, there's something fractal about how it's moving. And maybe I'm not using that word correctly, but there's something very mathematical about its using. Now, they can be tiny. However, in Antarctica, things like starfish get gigantic, things like anemones get gigantic, and things like sea spiders get gigantic. They get up to 1 meter long. That's a little bit over a yard. Let's take a look at one of these Antarctican ones. So this is the thing. I think we can fast forward a little bit of this. Yeah. There it is, walking at the bottom of the ocean. Reminds me, some of you might know, I don't know what you call them where you live, but here in New York, they call them daddy long legs or harvestmen, which are actually, I think, mites on long legs. They're spider relatives, they're arachnids. I think the fact that it's going so slow makes it much, much more of a nightmare. Because there's this feeling like when you're dreaming and something's coming at you slowly, but you're paralyzed, and you're like, holy shit, oh my God, the shadows. Look at the shadows. Good Lord, that entity. So, what are sea spiders? It's like 1,600 species. So, they're marine arthropods. You find them all over the world. They use their snout to suck out the juices. You see that one has a very long snout at the front, different color, to suck out juices from sea anemones, or they tear apart worms and other slow-moving, soft-bodied prey to bite-sized chunks. Now, the shallow water species can be only a single millimeter. We have one that's single millimeter, right? 1 mm long, 0.04. Look at that. And those in the deep sea can reach over 2.3 feet. Now, those legs are really important because the rest of the body is so small that this one has a bigger body, that the parts of their digestive system extend into their legs. They even, go to the next picture. Look at that. They even breathe in their legs. They absorb oxygen through them as though they were gills. It's all surface area. There's no inside with them. And of course, they use those stilts to walk as well. I think we got a couple, yeah. So some of them are very colorful. And some of them are, yeah, so they're very pretty. You could see how that would camouflage very well because there's no eyes. There's too little eyes sometimes, but you can't really focus on what it is that you're looking at. It just looks like discoloration. They could be very, very tiny. It looks like, also looks like when a leaf has died and all the thing that's left is the webbing. That's what that looks like. So sea spiders, absolutely, they're not spiders, but they are one of God's mistakes.